Hey guys, welcome to Hummingbirds and Coding. I think you'll enjoy what we are going to do today. We did not quite have the manpower to come in and do these all three social studies classes all day today, so we are trying something new, which is to do a video recording and see how it goes. So bear with me, laugh at me when you want to. This is the morning after Griffin Fest, so I think everybody's running on very little sleep. Okay, so here we go. So the first thing, you have a plastic tub, hopefully in front of you. If not, pause the video and distribute the tubs. And in your tub, if you will take out, there is a board, which I call a motherboard. There is a black connection cable. There are two lights in your box. There is one that has a black wire in a single color. It might be orange, green, blue, all kinds of colors. And then you have another wire that has four wires, a black, a red, a green, and a blue. And then you have a little tool. So if you'll take all of those things out of your box and just lay them in front of you, we're going to go over those pieces.
I'm sorry, I can't help you with videos.
Okay guys, so this video is just to explain the different pieces in your box. So if you haven't already, just take everything out of your box. And I want to go over a couple of things with you guys. So you have what we call our, I call it a motherboard, but it's really a Hummingbird control board. And then we have a tool, which I call a thingamajigger. They may be different colors. And then you also have a USB connection for your board to go to your Chromebook. You should have a wire or a light with two wires. It may not be orange and black. It may be red and black or green and black. We'll go over that in a minute. And then you should have a wire that has four wires: green, blue, red, and black. And if you don't have one of those things, you guys can pause this, raise your hand, and make sure we have all the parts. So the first thing I want to go over is how to connect your Hummingbird board, the board, to the computer. So you're going to take your connection, and bear with me because I'm making this video on the fly. So I'm all by myself. So there on the end, you're just going to plug that in. Please be gentle with it. These kits are not cheap. We're borrowing some of these from other schools so that you guys can have smaller groups today, so just be gentle. So that goes in right there. And then your USB you can plug into any port in your Chromebook. And nothing's going to happen yet, but you should have a green light right here. So if you don't have a green light, if your teacher will pause the video and make sure, number one, that it's plugged in. The next thing I want you to do is, if it could be the port in your Chromebook, so you might take it out of this USB port and try another one. So try those two things first, and if you still don't have a green light, my next suggestion is to try someone else's Chromebook. And if we still don't have a green light, then your board is bad. So just give your board to your teacher, and she'll need to give you another board. Okay, so now that's it for right now. Don't touch any of the other parts for just a minute. We're going to come back to them later. So now we have to figure out how all this is going to work in the end. If for some reason there was not a green light on in that last video, I think there will be, because that's literally just a power button. I think after we do this next part, it will come on. So the next thing you're going to do, I have posted this to the CC Griffin STEM page. So if you will go to the CC Griffin homepage, and in the top there is a button that says STEM. And then if you will just click CC Griffin STEM, down here on the left it says 6th grade and Hummingbird Robotics. This is where you are going to launch the connection for your Chromebook. So I don't think your Chromebooks already have that, but you will go ahead and click here. Your screen will look a little different than mine simply because of the fact that you're on a Chromebook and I'm on my MacBook. But you should see something like this. You're going to go ahead and click Launch App. Then we are going to click Open Snap. Okay. And your screen should now look like this. So we should have this screen at this point. If you don't, let's go ahead and pause the video, and you guys can help each other out around the room, or if your teacher needs help or needs to like text me or call me or something, feel free, but that's where you should be. Okay, so you should see all of this. If you want to get rid of this box, you can click this arrow right here and it will make it go away. All right, so now let's connect the other pieces. please, please, please remember, as you're watching this video for the next part, my first suggestion is to watch the video first and then do it. But we want to take care of them. Just don't jam down really hard if something is not like going in. Don't be really forceful with it. These typically don't break, but again, you're looking at about $500 worth of stuff laying around the room, so we want to take care of it so we can keep using it year after year. All right, so let's begin. All right, so now that we have gone through all the different parts and gotten it connected, and you have gone onto the home page and launched the app, you are ready to connect the other pieces, because right now it doesn't do anything. So the first thing you're going to realize is, let's get a little familiar with your board. The part you're going to be using today are these green ports right here, and you'll notice it says tricolor 1, tricolor 2. So that means technically this is a tricolor light, because it is 3 colors. Your black wire is always going to go in the negative slot, whether you are working with another type of attachment. These things have motors and sensors and all kinds of cool things. If you are working with your single LED, the black wire always goes in the negative. Where does the black wire go? Shout it out and scare your teacher. I'm just kidding. They're going to get mad if I get y'all riled up. Okay, so what we're going to do right now is go ahead and connect our lights, because we want to make sure that everything is working. So we are going to do the single light first. So find your wire that only has a color and a black wire, and that is going to go in LED 1. So here's the importance. It really doesn't matter if you put it in LED 2, but in a minute, if you do, you'll see why it doesn't work. So the biggest thing is you need to pay attention to the port number. So I am going to attempt to do this. So give me just a minute. This is hard by myself. Okay, so the end of your tool looks like this, and it fits down in the groove of the port. Okay, so if you see what I'm doing here, you press down, and if you look down in the hole when you press down, it actually opens up that end. See that? It's like opening it up. I know it's hard. Sorry, guys. So see, it's going in and out. So what you want to do is, one person will hold the board and press down with the tool, and another person in your group will take, if I'm in the positive slot, the colored wire and put it in there. And then you'll do here, and you'll put the black wire in the negative slot. So give me just a minute. I'm going to attempt to, you guys can look at my lovely cup right there for just a minute. I don't know. I can't even get my phone to sit up, y'all. Look. Okay, I'll be right back. Sorry. Griffin Fest has us all frazzled. If you do not see any silver wire sticking out from your color, raise your hand. Your teacher can take some scissors and kind of shave the plastic coating off the wire. You won't get electrocuted, I promise. So, thanks for your patience. Now, we have this, right? So I have my colored wire in the positive slot and my black wire here. And you kind of want to tug on them like that to make sure that, they're in there really, really good. So now you're ready to click the space bar in your programming and watch what happens. So watch the magic here. Just kidding. There it goes. So it should be flashing from the code that you're running on Snap. So, okay. Now, let's talk about if you were to have put it into port 2, port 3, or port 4 and what your code looks like. I'll go over that on the next slide so you guys can kind of see why that's important. Okay, so these are just some written directions, teachers, in case you want them for your next class or don't want to watch the video running short on time. So how does that code work? So this is super important to understand. So first of all, this key here, if you press it, you can actually go ahead. If you want to be on your scratch screen, that's fine. I suggest everybody have Snap open, just because that way if someone's absent when you guys use these with castles later on in the year, then you know what to do. But you can change that space bar to any key that you want to on your keyboard. I like the space bar. It's just my happy button. This number here is how many times your light is going to blink. So in a minute, I'll give you a chance to play. You can change that to 100. You can change it to all kinds of things. This is what I was talking about earlier. This right here, this 1, is what port your light is in on your motherboard. So if you had this at a 1, but your light plugged in to port 2, or let's say you had it plugged into a tricolor port, something funky, your code is not going to work. This is like literally telling it step by step, like making a sandwich, what to do. So always double check that. Sometimes people are working in groups and the person puts it in port 2, but the code says port 1. Always go back and check that. This number here is how bright your light is going to be. So in a minute, you can try to make that number higher. I don't know what the upper limit is. At some point, it maxes out. And then you can make that number lower, and it would make it dimmer. So like if you were wanting to do something like trying to represent your light in a castle, and you wanted it to flicker like a flame would be on a castle, you could play around with that to make it lighter and not so bright. And then this down here, this 0 right here is super important. So you're telling your light to come on at this brightness. You're telling it to wait 1/10 of a second. And then you're telling it to go off. So 0 is like the absence of color. So that is off. Then you're telling it to wait another 1/10 of a second. And then this little repeat block is going to tell it to go back up to the top and go through your code again. So it's literally going 1 and back, 2 and back, 3 and back. So that's kind of how the code works. So now what I want you to do, teachers, you can pause the video here, is just play around with each of those numbers on your code and see how it affects the appearance of your light. Okay, so now let's talk a little bit about the blocks in Snap. So let me exit out of this right quick. So you've had a chance to play around with your code. Remember, if you want this box to go away, just click right here. So we have this great piece of code right here. And let's go over some of these other things real quick before I give you a chance to play so you'll just know. All these blocks are color-coded, so when you click on Control, these are all the different buttons you can use. So let's just say maybe you wanted your light to stay on forever. There is actually a forever block right here. So you literally could take that out, slide it in, which means it is literally just going to go forever until, oh, that's not right. That has to be inside of it. Give me just a second. Right, so like now, there. So now it's just going to blink forever. So I know you can't see my light right now, but it is just flashing on and off forever and ever and ever until I like tell it to stop. Okay, so if we want it to stop, we're just going to do that. And it's going bananas over there. So these are all your control blocks you can play. You can put if, else, then kind of things. There's all ways you can do that. So I'm just kind of going through these quick. These are motion blocks. These are for motors. We'll get to those when we do castles. So like if you wanted a flag to go up and down or a bridge to go up and down, those are all motion blocks. Looks is your lights. So if you scroll all the way down, this is your LED, single LED that we have plugged in right now. This is your tri-LED, which what you would do here is plug in the black to the negative slot, plug in your green, your blue, and your red. It's all labeled on your board. And then this would make your tri-LED work. So again, this is the port number. This is, so if I made this run right now, this light would be green. Okay, so if I wanted to be red, I would just like change this to 0 and this to 100. And now, if I did it, my light would be red. So lots of different ways to play around with that. And the cool thing about these, let's just say you wanted it to blink, just giving you some ideas. If you wanted it to go up here, and then we wanted it to wait. And then what if after the wait, we didn't want it to be red, right? So like maybe we want it to blink green, and then we want it to blink blue. Okay, you have to change these around a little bit. And then we could put in another block and make it blink. What color haven't we used? Green. It'll blink different colors, so you can play around with that just a minute too. Sound, we probably won't use that a whole lot, but you can like record your voice and do all kinds of really cool things there. So those are just some of the different, you're welcome to explore any of those variables as long as your teachers say you have time, but that is how that works. All right, so your first challenge, I'm going to give you a series of challenges, teachers. If you don't have time to do it, it's okay, but I thought the kids would enjoy. So your first challenge is to create a code that will cause a single LED, so that's going to be one with a black wire and a colored wire, to blink on and off 6 times, have the light stay on for 4 seconds, insert a 2-second wait time in between. So go, pause the video for me, and be able to explain to your teacher or another group which block you changed and how you made it happen. So go ahead and pause the video now. All right, did it work? Okay, if not, I do not have the code in here. I just didn't have time to get that part done. So if another group has it, you guys can take a minute and share your code. And if you need to pause the video, you can. All right, so how to delete blocks of code. So this comes in kind of handy just to know. So let's just say I want to clear my space. You can literally right click and delete. You can drag it over here and let go and it will disappear, right? So you can just like say, go away. So two different ways. You can also duplicate. So let's just say, you don't want to have to keep going down here and dragging a block in. So you can duplicate. And you do need to remember if you're running two lights, you have to have 2 blocks of code. So you might have 1 block of code here, 1 block of code here, right? So you might have your tri-LED running over here, but you do have to have 2 separate blocks of code. I don't think you can have it all together, but you're welcome to go ahead and play around with that. So that's kind of how you duplicate blocks of code. Challenge 2. So here we go. Where do you think your tri-LED should go? So I kind of went over that a little bit a minute ago. What blocks do you think you're going to need? And your challenge is, can you make your tri-LED only blink from red to green to blue with a 1 second wait time in between? Your single LED should not blink. So you can keep your single LED in the port, but you have to get rid of the code for the LED to work. Because you don't want it to work. So you can go ahead and pause the video and you guys can give it a whirl and see how it works. All right, your challenge 3. I want to see if you can make your single LED stay on the whole time, so no blinking, just stay on, and your tri-LED blink on and off. So go ahead and pause the video. I didn't give you any parameters there, but just see if you can do those 2 things all at once. All right, this page is just for troubleshooting. Make sure the green light on the motherboard is a solid green. If it is blinking, so if it's going like green and then going off, kind of fading, you need to unplug everything first and relaunch your app. If there isn't a light on at all, you need to check your cord connection or your USB input. 9 times out of 10, the reason your code won't work is because something is wrong with it. So either you got a port wrong or you're plugged in wrong. Always go back and double check your code. So it's always good to have another group member say, hey, my code's not working. Like, can you look at this and let's figure it out together? And always check your wire connection. So this next part is only if you are doing motors. There are 2 motors. We have a black servo motor and a white motor. However, when you use these, it cannot run off the power of just your Chromebook. So there is a black power cord that you have to have. You need to be close to an outlet. It will plug into your motherboard on the other side of where your USB is plugged in. And then it needs to also be plugged into the wall. So what's the difference of these 2 motors? So your black motor, servo motor, I just call it black motor. It's just easier to remember than remembering servo, will only turn 180 degrees. The white motor will go a full 360 degrees. So it will spin 360 degrees as many times as you want it to. So maybe just pause the video here and your teacher can have a discussion about when might there be a time that you would want the motor to just go 180 and when you might want it to go 360 degrees. And I don't have a video for this portion yet. If I get it done before your teachers need this, I will send it to them. But I think from here, you guys can probably figure out how to connect your motor and your servo. Just always remember the negative has to line up with your black cord. That does not change so that you can use it. And then you guys can play around with the code. I've already showed you where all the blocks are. Have fun!